This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. We are heading into the championship series here. Very exciting matchups across the board. We're going to talk a little bit today about Dodgers Brewers. We're going to talk a little bit about Mariners Toronto Blue Jays and what to expect. A very interesting article came out with Jeff Passanbaum, as per usual,
yes.
ESPN, really likable guy, about the salary cap and what to do with that. We're going to discuss that as well as a couple of things in the Mets world. So thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. How are we feeling, Ashley? 4 teams left, none of them from New York.
4 teams left, none of them from New York, none of them from the vicinity of New York. I think it's fantastic. I mean, right, if you're a baseball fan, obviously, the Dodgers are still there. We will see. They still have a very good chance to possibly repeat or at least make a charge at doing so. But you have 3 smaller, I know Blue Jays fans are going to get mad, smaller market teams left in the fold in the Mariners, Blue Jays, and Brewers. And I think that's great for the game. All 3 of those teams you obviously knew heading into the year, right? You knew the Brewers were going to be good. You knew the Blue Jays were going to be decent. You knew all of that. But I think having 3 out of 4 teams with storylines that have never been there, that have a chance to do something that they've never done, is good for the game, no matter if the ratings show it or not.
I saw, courtesy of Sarah Langs on Twitter, that based on the 4 teams that are left, whatever combination of teams makes it to the World Series, it will be a combination that we've never seen before. I think as a baseball fan, that's always something that you root for. You also have 2 teams here that if they make it in, they would have the chance to win their first World Series ever. That is the Brewers and the Mariners. I think that if you're a baseball fan, in general, I don't know what World Series I'm rooting for yet, but if you are a baseball fan and you're rooting for 2 teams to make it there with the chance to win their first World Series as a franchise, I'm not mad at that, and I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I said the Mariners were my team after the Red Sox and the Mets got eliminated, and they are. I think the Mariners have never been there. I think that fan base, Seattle, they love that team. Like, they deserve a championship or a shot at it. But at the same time, there is something really appealing to me, and I hate to say this, about a Blue Jays-Dodgers World Series. That would be really, really something.
All right, and why do you say that? Tell our viewers why that's something that you're pulling for.
I mean, I think that just like the star power in both of those lineups, pitching wise, right? Like, who doesn't want to see Vlad go against Shohei Ohtani? Like, that would be awesome. But then at the same time, the other side of me is like the Brewers are probably maybe even the most well-rounded team left. They've been chugging all year long. They're like the best team in baseball. And the Mariners, like I said, have a great stacked lineup too. So you can't really go wrong with how these matchups go. And I think it's two really interesting championship series.
We're going to get into the matchups in a second, but I also think that there's just something to be said about baseball as a sport. When you look at what happens here, I feel that in a lot of the other big time sports, so often you're seeing the same teams playing over and over and over again. That turns me off with a couple of sports. Like, honestly, with the NBA, I feel like you see that frequently. I'm so interested in the kind of sport like baseball where it truly feels like in any given year, a lot of teams, I'm not going to say all teams, no one was expecting like the Rockies to show up here, but I do think there are a lot of teams that could have ultimately made it this far. And I don't know that I would have thought a couple weeks ago that the Mariners, for instance, were going to make it as far as they did. That the Yankees, well, maybe I didn't know they would flop, but like the Red Sox, right? It's like there are some teams that you thought really could go on a run that didn't. And I appreciate that about baseball as a sport. And that's also why I think, you know, it's funny, around this time is when you start to hear people talking about all sorts of things, but I see some people who talk about shortening the length of a baseball season. I'm a big advocate against that. I don't mess with that at all. Some things just need to stay the way that they were meant to stay. Listen, you want to bring in the ABS system? I'm totally on board, and we'll talk about that in a future episode. You want to bring on a ghost runner and you want to make the game a little shorter? I'm fine with that. However, I think I know you do. Sorry. I know we're gonna battle about some of these things in the offseason.
Yeah, maybe some of our traditionalist takes versus like what we like, what we don't like. That could be a fun episode.
I agree. But 162 games, You need it, man, because look at the kind of thing that happens.
I agree. 162 games is what makes baseball so great, in my opinion, take the Mets. Like in June.
That's what makes it so great.
That's what makes it so romantic and so whimsical and so fun. No, I'm kidding. But, yes, to your point, like the Mets in May and June are a team that you're like, how could they not be there in October? And then they're not there in October. And teams that played their way and earned their way in later in the season are. It's really all about like getting hot and blossoming as a team together all at the right time. It doesn't matter if you blossom as a team for 6 months of the regular season if you don't do it in October.
It's funny because to conclude this and then move on, baseball is the sort of sport where there is truly enough time for a great team to become bad or for a mediocre team to become great. And I just think that's wonderful.
I agree.
Moving on, we're going to talk about the Dodgers Brewers. Game 1 coming up tonight. So be on the lookout. I told you, we're moving away from our traditional format for the remainder of this baseball season. And we will be essentially just doing some post-game recaps and things like that based on how these series go. But we have Dodgers Brewers tonight at 8:08 EST. And I don't know. I mean, when you look at this matchup, for me, I think this is one of the most interesting matchups that the Dodgers have faced throughout the course of this run. The Dodgers, in my opinion, have some of the best star power in the entire field, and I've always felt that way. But the Brewers, like it or not, have been the most consistent team in baseball throughout the entire season. I have no idea what to expect. No idea.
Can you imagine saying at the start of the season, the Brewers and the Dodgers will be playing in the NLCS, and one of them is the best team in baseball, and the other one was supposed to be the best team in baseball? And I'm so sorry for all of our Dodgers fans who aren't going to like that, but that's just the truth.
I know.
The Brewers were the best team in baseball down the stretch, and now throughout this playoff run. Not to say the Dodgers weren't a close, second or third, but how electric of an NLCS is this? And then you look at the two teams and how different they are. The Dodgers are the favorite. They're the stars. They're the well-known faces of baseball, some of them. And the Brewers are just like this scrappy, hungry, young team that won more games than they were ever supposed to and now found themselves here. I'm not saying no discredit to the Brewers at all. I think that's such a testament to what Pat Murphy has created there and the culture that's gone on there the past few years. But they're also two entirely different teams on the field. The Brewers have been piecing together the pitching, piecemeal, a lot of bullpen games, a lot of relying on guys in long relief. The Dodgers have had a lot of that pitching firepower that we saw them stockpile in the offseason finally start to come to fruition now, and it's really carried them through this playoff run. So you're looking at two teams that are kind of relying on two starkly different things to win this series.
I mean, when I think about the Dodgers, maybe baseball playoffs in general, I'm thinking about endurance. To me, it always feels like, did you have enough pieces? Did enough people not get injured for you to essentially last the entire way through?
Yeah.
When I think about the Dodgers and playoff runs, two things come to mind. Number one, it always feels like they have the next pitcher ready to go.
Yeah.
I feel like they never run out of options for freaking pitchers. And that to me feels like something that down the stretch and down the line really matters.
Which is new for them this year, I should add. Remember last year's NLCS, they were throwing bullpen games half the time.
And oddly still, I feel
And it
like
worked.
winning.
Yeah.
But the point is, I agree with you. I think that's something that they've really figured out. And I think damn near everybody who they throw in there has been lethal.
Yes.
I'm looking at Roki Sasaki. I am looking at you as someone who has done an amazing job so far in a little bit of a bullpen role and as someone who I think is going to matter and be a key player.
Yeah, they've seemed like they've almost found their closer there in Sasaki.
Crazy. It's
Which
crazy.
is, if that's the role that fits him, because he was going kind of struggling up and down all season long to find his spot for the Dodgers, maybe Sasaki's your closer for the next few years.
Who the heck knows? The other thing I'm thinking about when I think about the Dodgers is the fact that whenever they're down, they're never out.
Yeah.
That is the kind of team where you truly cannot take a breath for 1 minute. You could be down by 5 runs in the middle of the game. It does not matter.
Yeah.
Ask the Yankees about it, yo. You should not take your foot off the gas against the Dodgers. That being said, like you said, the Brewers are a scrappy team. So I think that you and I, on a 3-2-1 countdown, should first predict who we think is going to win this series. And then on another 3-2-1 countdown, should predict in how many games.
Okay, well, here's the other thing. You look at the matchup of these two teams. The Brewers, I should inform everyone, beat the Dodgers 6 wins to 0 in the regular season. The Brewers swept them twice. If you're the Dodgers, I think you are worried about that right now. This isn't particularly, if I was a Dodgers fan, this isn't particularly a great matchup in my eyes because you know what that lineup can do. You're really heavily relying on your pitching if you're the Dodgers. Now, the Brewers pitching could all go to hell. Freddie Peralta's starting game 1, and if I'm a Brewers fan, him and his 4.66 ERA, I'm not in love with that. It really, I think this series is going to come down to, do the Brewers have enough pitching? Because they won't, in a 7-game series, be able to get as crafty as they did in the NLDS, as they did throughout. Like, there's no off days in here to play with your long relief, to play with your bullpen in the way that you were.
No, you're right. You're right. All right. Who's going to win this series on a 3-2-1 countdown? Are you ready? Take a minute. We can always edit out a moment of silence if that's what you need.
What I want to happen and what I think will happen are 2 different things.
I know. Me too. Me too.
And I hate to say that.
I know.
All of our Dodgers
I know. Me
fans.
too. Me too. Oh, interesting. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Who's going to win? 3, 2, 1. Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
Well, why do you hate to say that then for the Dodgers fans? Oh, because you want the Brewers to win.
Yeah, I think the Brewers, and this is just, everybody's going to hate me after saying this, so sorry, all of our Dodgers fans. I think the Dodgers will win. I think the Dodgers pitching will prevail. I think if you're the Dodgers and you have Blake Snell in game 1, you have Yamamoto in game 2, you have that arsenal of Glasnow and, Ohtani and all of that. I think the pitching prevails. But how can you even say that when I just said the Brewers beat them 6-0 in the regular season? The Brewers are scrappy and they find ways to come from behind and win. The Brewers remind me a lot of the 2024 Mets in a few ways, in terms of just their like chutzpah to win games and come back and have these big moments.
I agree. And the idea you just mentioned out loud, that is going to help me with my prediction as far as how many games for this series. You ready to predict that too?
Yeah.
Okay. Dodgers going to win in how many games?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, 6.
7.
Okay. Interesting. I do. I envision it as like a lengthy series.
I do too.
Because you just know that the Brewers are going to have a couple moments here where they're able to come back in a few games. At least that's what I think. You don't make it as far as you have as a small market team unless you've had that comeback kid mentality.
And for all I'm saying about the Dodgers starters, which they surely are feeling good about, Sasaki in that closer role, the Dodgers, their one kryptonite this season has been those middle innings, those 6 through 8 innings. The Dodgers bullpen, I know a lot of Dodgers fans feel is the weak point of this team. So that could be a problematic matchup. If you're the Brewers, you have this penchant for coming back in games, the Dodgers bullpen fails them. I think a lot of the Dodgers' success is also going to rely on how deep into games can those starters go. And whenever you get into mid-October, when everybody's gassed, that's always a big question mark for any team. Totally agree. Endurance is going to matter here. On the other side, you have Mariners, Blue Jays. And right now, the Mariners already lead this series 1-0. I have to say, the Seattle Mariners have just shown me something. I mean, damn. America's team, the Seattle Mariners.
America's team. And again, I am sorry, Blue Jays. It's not even like a Canada thing. It's
we're always against the Blue Jays.
And I happen to be a huge Laddie Daddy fan, as you guys know. It's just the Mariners, when you think about that extra innings game and the way they just battled, the fact that they're going up against the Blue Jays, who you just have to understand, us watching this series and them just demolishing the Yankees, them just murdering this Joe Davis beautiful call where he talks about how it's going to be the highlight and the pinnacle of Aaron Judge's career, and it's just not. And then the next game, they just lose. Like, I want to say something. I said this in the last episode, but it's important. Joe Davis played that moment up, and he had every right to. Because if Aaron Judge and the Yankees would have went on and won that series, it would have been a big moment in his career. But now it means nothing. It's practically worthless.
I didn't get to sit here and talk to you all after the end of that Yankees series, which is upsetting because I had a lot to say. That I feel like Aaron Judge did show up for the Yankees, right? And it still wasn't enough. The Yankees Blue Jays series, like the Dodgers, I think were a better team than the Phillies, but also had to get a little crafty to work their way out of that. Like, you could have seen the Phillies winning that series, maybe. Yankees Blue Jays, like the Blue Jays were just the straight up better team. They were all year long. Obviously, they came back from that deficit in the division to win it and tie it and get the tiebreaker and all of that. The Yankees were just not winning that series, no matter what Aaron Judge did, which is funny because we sat here and we talked about how important like that series was and this playoffs was to Judge's legacy, and it was, but the Yankees just could not put it all together.
No, they certainly could not. We missed you for that episode. We knew you had a lot to say.
Do you know how many times I watched the Yankees lose when Big Papi was doing it with Vladdy? Oh my God, I watched it like 5 times. Anyway, so sorry. Happy the Yankees are dead.
Totally understand. All right, so listen, Mariners lead this series 1-0. Again, I don't know what to think here. You are looking at sort of that battle of the stars situation again. You have Guerrero. You also, on the other side, have Cal Raleigh. I'm a big Cal Raleigh fan.
Love Cal Raleigh.
I love the fact that he is just blasting these home runs no matter what shirts people wear behind him. It's not enough.
Not enough.
He is finding ways to do it. Again, you root for a team like the Mariners, but quite honestly, I think that with both of these teams, you have interesting storylines, fans that really are desperate and hungry to go to places that they haven't been in a long time.
It was interesting to see the Blue Jays drop game 1 of this series because you felt like the Blue Jays had honestly, out of the 4 teams left, you felt like the Blue Jays had the most momentum coming off of that Yankees series.
Totally.
They just smoked them. So to see them come out and lose game 1, I think sets an interesting tone for the rest of that series because now they're playing from behind, which isn't necessarily a spot that they've been in throughout this playoff run. And they're going to have to put it all together in a way that in the way that they did against the Yankees. But I think the Mariners, just like what I said about the Brewers, are very hungry. Obviously, they want to be there. Cal Raleigh is a guy that can almost carry that team and carry that lineup single-handedly. Not that that's necessarily a recipe for success. They have other guys, a Rosarena and the like, but Cal Raleigh is the difference on that team.
I totally agree, and I think this is a good time for me to bring up something that I wanted to make sure we said today because it just happens to be an interesting stat.
Let's hear it.
I think that sometimes in the playoffs, and I think this is why we talked about Aaron Judge so much, sometimes in the playoffs, especially in a series like this where you have an interesting matchup with 2 stars collectively with both of these teams, you are partially just looking for a moment, okay? I want to bring you back to October 13th, 2013, 12 years ago today. Exactly 12 years ago today. The Red Sox were going up against the Tigers at Fenway Park. I don't know if you know this story or not. I happened to be visiting Boston University because I was thinking about going there for college. I was at a lacrosse camp.
Wait, so was I. Interesting.
Really?
We didn't know that, yeah.
No, I didn't. Me and my dad are in the elevator. My dad says to some guy, hey, what time is the game tonight? Because he knew there was a playoff game. The guy says, whatever time it is. And he said, we actually happen to have 2 extra tickets. Like, do you want them?
How random.
My dad looks at me. I mean, it's a Boston Red Sox playoff game against the Tigers. We're Mets fans. But my grandpa was always like a big Red Sox fan. So we're like, you know what? Why should we not go to this?
Playoffs at Fenway.
Playoff baseball in any situation. Yeah. I want to be there. I want to go.
Sure.
My dad's like, Sam, I need you to understand there is sincerely a chance that we go there and we got scammed and these tickets don't even work. It works.
He's like, don't get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up. Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, right.
But goddamn it worked and they were real tickets. I mean, what an amazing park and situation, I just have to say. There are people on stilts.
Tremendous.
The food, tremendous. No other word
Tremendous
to use
is my
for
word
Fenway
of the
Park.
week, in case anyone was wondering.
I love Fenway Park. We go there. The Red Sox are down 5-1. Should we leave? Should we not leave? We don't leave. And Big Papi, as many of you I am sure know, hit a game-tying grand slam off of Detroit. There is a very famous photo of the outfielder going over the wall, and the Boston cop is like this, woohoo!
Yeah.
It's the best playoff baseball. It's the best baseball game I've ever been to my entire life.
Wow.
12 years ago today.
This
Big
is a great
Papi.
story.
Good stuff, I have to say. And they ended up going on and winning that game. The point is, I think sometimes in playoff baseball, you just need a moment. And I think in this kind of a series, a guy like Guerrero or a guy like Cal Raleigh, you might just be looking for that one moment that tips the series in either direction. It's my long-winded point.
I completely agree with that. And I also think that you kind of look at the 2 differences. I mean, we're just sort of evaluating all 4 teams at this point because realistically 2 teams have to play each other in the World Series coming up soon also. Like, you look at the Blue Jays and the Mariners, and I think, like, the Mariners, depending on how Cal Raleigh hits sink or swim, the Blue Jays, depending on how Vladdy hits sink or swim. Then you look at the other side of the coin, which is why I think, and I have thought all year, that the NL was the deeper league. You look at the Dodgers, who are surviving Ohtani being in a slump. He did not do well in the NLDS. Ohtani was like, he had like a couple singles. He the Phillies struck out Ohtani 9 times in 20 plate appearances in the
crazy.
NLDS. Ohtani has been cold. But if you're the Dodgers, you've been surviving that because of Freddie Freeman, because of Max Muncy, because of everybody else. The Brewers, I wouldn't even say have that like bona fide star. They're just a scrappy lineup that all relies on each other and builds on each other. I guess just looking at the broader baseball picture, looking at those two differences is interesting, right? Because I really feel like with the Blue Jays and the Mariners, the Blue Jays lineup revolves around Vlad. The Mariners lineup revolves around Cal Raleigh.
I know that they're already 1 game in, but I think we should still do it and predict anyway because we're here. So why not?
Okay.
All right. Who's going to win on 3 this series, Mariners, Blue Jays? Actually, I'm going to say 3-2-1. 3-2-1. Mariners. I do. I think they got it.
too.
I think they got that juice. In how many games?
Okay.
3-2-1, 5. I kind of just view this as a shorter series for some reason.
I do too.
I think once they have it, they'll have it. But we could be wrong.
I
Interesting.
think NLCS is going 7 because I think both of those teams are going to fight it out. I also think that, and you obviously you could say this for any series, but I think if you're the Blue Jays, like the Blue Jays are almost staring down a must-win game in Game 2. Like if you're the Blue Jays and you go down 0-2, I don't feel so good about that.
I just know what that ESPN graphic would say, and it does not look good for y'all. It does not look good for y'all. All right, 2 other things that we wanted to discuss with you guys quickly. Very interesting article came out from Jeff Passan, who I happen to love. If you have never checked out his stuff, certainly check it out. He's a great writer. He's a great tweeter. He's a great guy. He essentially was talking about the fact that he thinks that this series between the Dodgers and the Brewers has major implications for the way that the business side of baseball is going to play out.
Completely.
And I have to say that I tend to agree with that. His point of the article was essentially that, as many of you may know, there is this big debacle with the salary cap. And we know the way that MLB owners feel, and we know the way that the players feel, and they're feeling differently, and they're certainly on 2 different sides of the spectrum. His point in the article was that if the Dodgers win, it is going to be more of a reason for there to be a salary cap because people are going to cry that it is taking away from the parity of baseball. Whereas if the Brewers, a small market team, wins, then it's proof that all is right in the baseball world and nothing needs to change.
Yeah.
I'm here to just ask you a question. Do you think that series matters as much as Jeff thinks? And B, do you think that something should change in the years to come, or do you think that it's fine and teams should just be able to spend money?
Well, let's lay out what we're looking at here. So the Dodgers,
let's talk about a few things.
Obviously, the Dodgers right up there with the Mets and the Yankees as highest payrolls in baseball, over that luxury tax, over that $300 million threshold, all of it.
We should not.
Jeff Passan started this article.
Great article.
He said the winner of the National League Championship Series could determine whether Major League Baseball is played in 2027.
Bombshell sentence.
I mean, Passan bomb. He said this might sound far-fetched. It's not. What looks like a best-of-7 baseball series will play out as a proxy of the coming labor war between MLB and the Players Association.
Pretty much.
I think that I agree because the Brewers obviously are just a small market, like bottom third of baseball in terms of payroll consistently, and yet they found a way to be good the past few years and to get here they've proven in a way that the money might not matter as much as some of these big market teams think it does. The Dodgers, on the other hand, have this record $500 million payroll. If they win back-to-back World Series, if they not only make it to the World Series but win it again, you are approaching a dangerous threshold and a dangerous cliff for the state of the game because, at that point, do the other 29 teams feel a lot more apt to advocate for a salary cap? Probably, right? Because I don't know. We've been chugging towards this for a long time. I don't want to go out and say that, I do think Passan's being a bit dramatic. I don't think this series is, the end-all, be-all.
Agree.
But even everything with the Mets and Juan Soto and that discussion with the Yankees, and, there was only 4 teams that were realistically ever in that fight, maybe 3, and it was the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it comes down to, I think. Baseball, across many pro sports, I think, has the most parity that you'll find ultimately. A part of that is the 162-game season. A part of that is I just don't think there's a huge talent gap. But the other thing is, NBA has a salary cap. NFL has a salary cap. NHL has a salary cap. MLS has one.
Yeah.
At some point, you are sort of looking around and thinking, well, certainly there's a reason why all these other pro sports teams have thought that this was a good idea and a worthwhile idea. I am not here to say, and if any of you have ever watched our Orange Zone podcast that focuses on Syracuse sports, you would know this. I am all for advocating for players getting their bag, making money. I'm interested in NIL. But the reason why guardrails in some sense appeals to me is for no other reason than I think that sports are the most entertaining when you're seeing different teams win. And I think that it would be a straight up lie to say that money has not played a role in the Dodgers' success or the Mets' success, right? Like, I'm not coming after just the Dodgers. I think if you have more money, don't tell me that sometimes that doesn't lead to more successful teams. I don't know what else to say.
But think about this, and I agree with you. Just for the record, I think that when that collective bargaining agreement comes around in December of 2026, I think baseball is chugging towards a salary cap, and it probably should. But just to play devil's advocate for a minute, the Dodgers, I feel like, have sort of pushed this narrative to the forefront and will more so if they win this World Series again, right? They've won the NL West like 12 of the last 13 years. They've been dominant. They are the new Yankees in some sense.
Pretty much.
So what I'm just saying there is that what the Dodgers are doing has been seen throughout baseball history by the Yankees on their dominant stretch, 20-something, 30-something years ago at this point. This isn't the first time a team has been like a bona fide dynasty like this. I think more so where the contracts are going and just getting so maxed out. It's like, what are we just going to pay guys $1 billion? Like, where does that end? It has to end. And I think that is kind of what's pushing this to the forefront, maybe even more than the Dodgers' success.
It's literally nearing that. Like, it's crazy that $1 billion isn't so far off from some of the numbers we've literally seen.
It's crazy.
At some point.
It's crazy.
FFS. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that, but just thought that was interesting, and perhaps that's our question of the week. How do you guys feel about that? I know there are obviously a lot of Dodgers fans in the comment section, but we would just like to hear how you feel about that, even objectively speaking. If you're a Dodgers fan and you were actually, if you're watching this podcast and you're a Dodgers fan, would you still feel the same way if you were a fan of a different team? If you were a Brewers fan, would you still feel that way?
And I think just put yourself in a baseball fan's shoes for a minute, right? Because even if you're a Dodgers fan right now, and you obviously won't feel this way if they beat you, like, you can say that there's something admirable about the Brewers' success and what they've been able to do in Milwaukee and have sustained success with not as much money and just craftier execution in some ways. So I guess the broader question is, what matters more, payroll and money, or execution at the end of the day? That's why baseball is such a funny sport, more than I feel like a few others.
Baseball is the best.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, one other thing we wanted to discuss with you guys. We started to see some reports, some rumors about the fact that Pete Alonso was seeking out a contract that was 7 years long. We're seeing that that's what he's looking for. And a question we're bringing to this discussion table today is, what should you do here?
First
what do you
of
do
all,
here?
I just want to say we're about to have it, but I just want to say as a Mets fan, I'm tired. I'm watching some really great other baseball right now on my TV that has nothing to do with me. I've put the 2025 Mets to bed in my head. They betrayed me, and they're just in that corner right now.
Sure.
And so Pete Alonso, like, even having discourse right now about Pete Alonso, like, I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I don't want to do it for another month. Anyways, Pete's not going to let that happen, though, and neither is Scott Boras. I mean, yeah, am I shocked he won 7 years? No. We said this last offseason when he got the kind of little Band-Aid deal that the Mets gave him, the year with the opt-out. He's looking for his big one. He didn't have the year in 2024 that necessarily would have gotten him his big one. The market was a little weird. This year, he could be looking at that. It's a bit of a thinner market for a guy, that brings his characteristics to the table. He did have a good year last year, obviously a better first half. I really think what's going to hinder the Mets and Alonso at this point is what hindered them the last time. The Mets still need Pete Alonso. You still look at that Mets lineup with Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor and a Mark Vientos who had a sophomore slump of the ages, and it doesn't look so good if Pete Alonso's not in it. But at the same time, David Stearns and Steve Cohen, to an extent, have shown that they get hung up on the years thing.
Yep.
They get hung up on the years thing. And so do I think that they would love to have Alonso back for 4 or 5 years of, an average annual value they felt was fair? Yeah. Do I think that they're going to just hand him 7 years to hand him 7 years? No.
You know what this is going to be. This is going to be a dogfight.
Oh my God.
It's really going to be as exhausting as it was last year. They're going to have another documentary about it. And all,
Steve Cohen's going to get up there at media day again and be like, whatever he said.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like they're going to, that's exactly what it's going to be. 5 years, 7 years fighting about it. I really think with Pete Alonso, if you're the Mets, can you just make a decision and make it right? I don't even know at this point. Maybe we've just discussed it at length so much. I don't even necessarily know if there is a right decision and a wrong decision. Just make a decision, be firm about it, and make it right. I think they should keep him. And I think that if he wants 7 years, honestly, I probably think they should give it to him or something close to it. I really do. I think that when you look at his offensive production, it just matters, man. He's somebody who in big time moments has really shown up and shown out, which to me matters.
I agree.
But beyond that, he's a home run hitter. He's been a New York Met for forever. I'm not even saying keep him around just because he's been around. It's just I think that he had a season this year that was really a make or break season. And in my opinion, he made it. I think he did a great job. And I think that he has shown that he probably is adding enough value where it makes sense to sign him. I also think that people don't discuss this as frequently as they should. But having him in the lineup, I think, does also give you a little flexibility with Juan Soto and making sure that Juan Soto is performing to his potential.
Well, here's the other thing, and this is a whole can of worms. If Pete Alonso wants 7 years, the Mets at multiple points, and David Stearns has kind of hinted at it and insinuated at it. Alonso's 30, 31 right now. Alonso's not going to play first base for the rest of forever. He will become a DH, as many power-hitting, slugging first basemen like him do. Are you paying a guy $25, $30 million a year for 7 years to be your DH? Maybe the answer to that is yes. I'm not really so sure that I see David Stearns doing that. David Stearns, especially after what happened with the Mets this year, has, had a defensive focus, has said that's something they want to clean up into next year. I know the statistics say otherwise. I don't think Alonso's as poor of a defender as he gets made out to be. But the reality is that he's going to become a DH, right? We know that. So if you're the Mets, are you swallowing a contract that you're probably not going to love the last 2-3 years of to have present Pete Alonso for the next 3 to 4 years? Obviously, you can get crafty with opt-outs and team opt-outs and whatever, and they'll probably try to do that. I'm just saying, I think Pete Alonso, for the record, is in the Mets' best interest in the near future. Do I think that David Stearns makes that decision if Alonso really wants 7 years? I don't know if I do.
Final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Final thoughts, really excited to watch some really good baseball this week. We will try to get back in touch with you guys throughout the week. I know we always say when something big happens, but that's really just how we're, sort of doing it at this point. If one of the teams goes up like 3-0 in the series, we'll talk about it. Can't be on here every night, unfortunately, because of our real jobs, but we wish we could. I'm really, really excited to watch a Dodgers-Brewers NLCS and to see if the Mariners can really top the Blue Jays. It's the best baseball time of the year.
Baseball is the best. What else is there to say? Thank you so much, as always, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you back here when the next big thing happens.